Welcome to our program, Remembering October 7th, the Day of Terror, a Testament to Strength. I'm B'nai B'rith CEO Dan Mariaschin. Thank you for joining us on this difficult day of remembrance. While our program today is meant to remember October 7th, we also acknowledge that we are meeting just hours after the announcement about a plan for Hamas to release the remaining hostages. It's so hard to believe that 2 years have passed since the world changed in an inferno of terror for Israel and the Jewish people. For those of us in the diaspora on October 7th, 2023, it was an incomprehensible day as we tried to reach family and friends in Israel and watched in horror as this infiltration and mass murder unfolded before our very eyes. For those in Israel, it was unimaginable. A savage and brutal breach of Israeli society. The scale of the attack by Hamas terrorists was inconceivable and a very real existential threat against the Jewish homeland. In the ensuing hours and days, we would all learn of the barbaric murders, the rapes and other sexual crimes, and the capture of hostages stolen from their beds, from their homes, from a peaceful celebration of music, buried alive into Gaza tunnels, and hidden among the civilian population. And now, 2 years later, some are still held hostage, enduring 2 years of starvation, 2 years of humiliation, and 2 years of sheer terror. On October 7th, 2023, 1,200 people in Israel, babies and children, teens, women and men, were burned alive or shot, with gleeful Hamas terrorists capturing their own brutality on video cameras and then bragging to their families about the killing of Jews in cold blood. The cruelty and savagery were unimaginable. But we had no choice then, and we have no choice now. As Jews and as Israelis, we have to see and hear again and again what Hamas had done. In the 2 years since the attacks, the global Jewish community has watched as the world abandoned Jews in Israel. Almost immediately, anti-Israel street protesters tore down posters of hostages. Almost immediately, university students and professors were shouting, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." Almost immediately, world leaders in the highest levels of government were blaming Israel for the Hamas attack and even saying it was justified. And now, more recently, global leaders are recognizing the non-existent state of Palestine in what can only be described as a reward for terror. The anti-Israel and anti-Semitic momentum have only grown in the past 2 years. Now, just hours ago, we had some positive news. A deal for Hamas to release all remaining hostages. This is a significant step toward justice and humanity. But we remain cautious. The details matter, and true peace will only come when the terror ends and Israel's right to security is fully ensured. The pending hostage release comes on the heels of the late September announcement from President Donald Trump during a White House news conference, along with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, describing a framework for peace to include Hamas releasing the Israeli hostages it holds and for a broader peace in the region. A new board of peace, an international oversight body, would be created to maintain the framework for what we hope will be a lasting peace. Will the many steps in this framework be implemented? We'll be watching. But for now, we're cautiously optimistic that the remaining hostages, the living and those who are deceased, will be back home in Israel within a few days. Even amidst a framework for peace, we know that we must never stop talking about the terror that Hamas unleashed on that day. We must all bear witness. And to do that, we must hear difficult accounts from those who were there and see images to guarantee that we and the world always remember the details. To ensure that, we'll share with you now some of the images from October 7th. This is irrefutable evidence of the Hamas savagery on that day. Let's take a moment to reflect as we watch this 3-minute video. With those images in mind, let's pause now in memory of the people killed, those kidnapped, those hostages still in Hamas tunnels, and the survivors, Jewish and others, and for the resilience, the strength, and resolve of the Jewish people. Our silence will be a profound bonding moment and a loud statement to the world. Our togetherness has never been more important. Please join me now for this moment of silence. We're honored and humbled to have joining us now Osher Pardo, a former IDF combat medic who served in the Golani Brigade. Osher was wounded during the October 7th attacks while stationed at Nahal Oz. Following his recovery, he began sharing his story of resilience, loss, and healing, giving lectures in Israel and abroad. Osher seeks to honor his fallen friends and inspire others by turning pain into meaning. Osher, thank you for joining us today. Please share your story with us now.
Thank you very much, first of all, for the opportunity to say the story and speak. As you said, I will introduce myself a little bit. My name is Osher Pardo. I'm 22 years old, from Kfar Yona in Israel. It's a small city near Netanya and Mekhefer. I joined the army in 2021 to the Golani Brigade, number 13. After I started the training as a combat soldier, went to be a combat medic, and then returned to my unit to finish my combat training mission, and then started going to the actual unit activities. I served in the Nachal Oz base. I give a little bit of statistics about the Nachal Oz base. It's the nearest and the biggest base to the Gaza fence. We were at October 7, at that Shabbat, we were 100 soldiers, something around that number, and 53 were killed. A lot of them were combat soldiers, and a lot of them were just not combat soldiers. So my story started at 7:30 in the morning. It started with the rockets and everything. My team called the Ta'agad, or it's a team of really good combat medics and a paramedic and a commander, which he by himself is a medic as well. So the rocket started. We went to the shelter, as the protocol said. We were there for like 10 minutes waiting for orders, and then suddenly we started hearing bullet shots and just a lot of heavy fire, and we didn't really understand what's going on, but we didn't really want to go out and just take a look. We wanted to wait for orders to somebody tell us what to do. We waited for a command from our deputy commander, and after 10 minutes, it started getting really, really loud, and you started hearing like screams, and it began to really be something that not usual, and definitely not something that we see in our activities normally. So after a couple of minutes, like 2 minutes after we understood that something big is going on, we were ready to shoot anyone who comes out from that door, comes into that door, that shelter. And then suddenly we start hearing knocks on our door and start hearing somebody scream our team name in Hebrew, and calling us for help and telling us there's a wounded soldier that we need to go and help. And we got out covering each other carefully, and we just 2 steps out of the shelter, and the first thing I see is on my left, I see my deputy commander, which I don't know if you know the skill of it, but it's basically he's the guy who's in charge of all at those moments, he's in charge of all the kibbutzes or Be'eri, Nachal Oz. He's in charge of everything. He's basically the god of the Gaza Strip in those moments. And I go to my left and I see him with a bullet in his head, and that got in from his left side and got out from his right side. So through his skull, through his brain, and I immediately ran into him. Sorry, I immediately ran into him with my commander, and I grabbed him from his shoulder, he grabbed him from his knees, and we started walking towards our shelter. We just wanted to get him out of the fire zone and see what's going on. So we did that, and then there's a couple of minutes that all of us were not just in kind of a automatic mode. Everyone did the first thing that came out to my head. So two, my paramedic and my partner, which is a combat medic as well, went to the commander, my deputy commander, and started taking care of him, first medical care. And me and my commander joined the commander's team. And by the way, at those moments, we're not with any equipment, not with any medical gear or just helmet, no ammo, just a weapon and one magazine. So we went to my deputy commander team. He had a partner and a driver. Both of them are combat soldiers who joined us at the attack. And we went to him and we just asked, "What's going on? What's the big deal? Why are we not taking care of the terrorists? How many are they?" I mean, we at those moments we thought how many they could be, 2, 3, 5 maximum. And then I casually, there was a wall that covered us, and from the left of the wall, you can just imagine it. There is tons of terrorists, and I didn't know that. So I went to that wall casually, aiming my gun a little bit, and then immediately eye contact with a terrorist, and he sees me, I see him, and I was in big shock. He was in shock too, but probably less than I was. He started shooting at me. Luckily, he missed me, and only the shrapnels of the bullets hit me in my knee. I didn't really notice at that time. I went back against the wall, covering me, and then I was aiming my gun, ready for engaging a battle. And I get into that wall, and I see the terrorist again. At that moment, he's already picking a grenade, is about to throw it, and then immediately I shot him 3 times, and he fell and died. At that moment, we thought, "Oh wow, we finished the battle. That's supposed to be it." And then 5 seconds later, we see his teammates. They were running in groups, so every terrorist had 4 other terrorists with him, and they were just kind of hiding behind a car, so they covered. We didn't see them, and then they started engaging battle with the 4 terrorists, and then my teammates joined me for that battle, and we managed to kill them off. And then after that moment, we had like 2 minutes that we really thought, that's it, we're done with the terrorists. And then we started hearing another shots from the base, so we understood nothing is over here, and there's probably terrorists not only in our area and other parts of the base. So we wanted to take our commander to a safer place, and right as my paramedic picking up on his shoulders, we look again against the wall, and then we see the wall of the base just exploded, and then more than 70 to 100 terrorists got in and started getting inside with vehicles and heavy amount of ammo. And that's the moment that we understood we need to get ammo by ourselves, and we need to get our equipment very quick. And the equipment was like 100 meters in front of us, but to get to that equipment, there was a lot of fire. There was let's call it a danger zone. It's a zone that you go out and you're exposed, and you can get shot, and with no cover. So I told my teammates, the one that joined us from the deputy commander, I told them, cover me and shoot towards the terrorists, and I'll sprint and I'll try to get the equipment, and then we do it in turn. So I'll do it, and then the paramedic will do it, then my partner, and then the commander. We're just gonna do it in turns. We're gonna take the equipment, go, and just do it in turn. So I'm the first one to go on our way, and I'm starting to sprint a couple of meters in, and then a guided missile, a guided bomb by Hamas was dropped on the vehicle, exactly on the engine, and the engine exploded, and then I flew off the shockwave. And that is a moment that I remember that I'm just laying on the ground, bullets flying over me, and I couldn't hear anything, I couldn't see anything, and then luckily my teammate ran into me, dragged me out of my shoulders, told me we need to go and they're closing in on us. And then we started going towards a place called the Hamal, which basically is the heart of the base. It's where all the watchers were at, and just see, that place is supposed to be the safest place for a team to take care of a wounded soldier. So we started walking towards her, injured and with no equipment, and then we immediately saw 15 terrorists, between 5 to 15 terrorists. Just with they didn't see us. They just went towards the Hamal with their back towards us. At those moments, we didn't have any ammo. We were like without. Especially myself, I was with no ammo. I used it all on the terrorists, and my teammates were just wearing in a not in a good place to start engaging battle because none of us were with ammo, and we had a commander which is bleeding from his head, so we needed to think of a better plan. Just start engaging, and we went back into the shelter, closed the door, and that you can just imagine it. But the shelter is just a shelter with a door, and the door was a plastic door, and you couldn't lock it. It's a bad army door. So we were at that room, closing the door, and just start taking care of the commander, start treating him, and we just start hearing the terrorists from outside of the room. You hear them so close that you're just waiting for them to come inside and start shooting you or throw a grenade. And times go by, we still hear the terrorists, and so we're still taking care of the commander. We're keeping ourselves quiet, but as much as we can. And we're basically just waiting for them to get inside and for us just to kill as much as we can. And we really hear them moving a door by door. Like the shelter was in a hallway of rooms. So our shelter was just one of like 10 rooms that was in the same hallway. And they moved every single door, destroyed every single door except our door. And time flew by and shooting stopped, shooting keep on going. Everything is just so random and you don't know what's going on. And we don't get orders because our deputy commander was at that moment badly injured. And I remember a big part of our time there. There was after about 6 hours of being there and taking care of the commander, we were like started thinking that the commander had no chance of leaving, so we staying alive. So we thought to ourselves, all right, there's clearly a battle in the base. Let's get out and fight for. Let's take. If we're gonna die here, so let's take as many as we can with us. And that's a moment that I really remember everyone being so quiet and being so in themselves, because we knew if we're going out of that door, we're probably not gonna make it back. And there was a couple of split seconds that I remember I'm taking a look at the commander's ring, he had a ring, and then I started thinking there is a family. It's not only a wounded soldier; it's a whole world, and it's all like, how do I say? It's it's our mission to try to save him. At least to try to save him, not giving up on him. And then we all decided as a team that we're gonna try to save him. and if he unfortunately died, we will go out and try to do our best. But for now, as long as he's alive, we cannot leave him here. And after 9 hours, we start hearing a helicopter and a lot of units, and then we got rescued and saved by a SWAT team and Sayeret Matkal and another couple of units. And I have a happy ending to say for that story. The commander did survive the bullet, and he's doing really good now. Definitely, if you see him, you're not gonna notice he got a bullet in his head. And yeah, after that, we got rescued, and part of us went to the hospital for a couple of hours. Luckily, none of us were badly wounded except the commander. We just were slightly wounded, so we went to the hospital and then immediately went back to the unit to see what went wrong, what was alive and what didn't survive that battle. Unfortunately for us, 41 from our soldiers didn't make it that day. That's the most of every unit. And looking back on it, we know that we had the most terrorists on our base, and we had between 300 to 350 terrorists, and that's after IDF showed us all the details. And yeah, now I'm here, and as you said, I'm doing lectures in Israel and abroad, and that's it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Osher. Never stop telling your story, never. And we'll always support you as you share and share so that the world knows what happened. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Our next guest is Noam Lev-Ram, father of 3 teenagers, graduate of a combat unit, and the owner of a computer business. On October 7th, 2023, Noam attended the Nova Music Festival with his partner, Jenny Sividia, where they met Jenny's brother and his girlfriend. Following a series of terrifying events during which they faced death more than once, Noam and Jenny made it back home. Today, Noam works a reduced schedule as he deals with post-trauma. He frequently shares his experiences with groups from Israel and abroad as part of his healing process and his sense of purpose. We'll hear his story now, and we will know why we must never stop listening. Noam, thank you for being here. Please share your story.
Thank you. So first I will tell you some details about this festival. This festival was International Music Festival. It was festival of a guy that called Universo Paralelo. They came from Brazil, and they united with the Nova Festival guys and another group of people that called the Mariaschin Project. It was a big event, big festival, around 4,000 people. While I arrived there, I didn't know this area. I didn't know the roads. We arrived around 1:30 a.m. Saturday, 7th of October. We hang out, and suddenly we found ourselves with Shlomi. We didn't arrive with him. We just met him at the festival, and my partner Jenny was so happy to meet our brother. He was with his partner Lily, and we hang out all the night until around 6, let's say around 6. We wanted to go to the court to bring our stuff. So we started to go to the gates, and then the explosion started. Unfortunately, we already know these things in Israel. So we lay down, cover our heads with the hand, and the music's continue. You know, we were sure that it's gonna end. But really fast, I started to hear the Iron Doom, the whistling of the missiles, the because, you know, it's pure nature. You don't have any alarms over there. And I understood that it's something bigger than just some missiles. And the music stopped, and the police officer and the security start to say to us, we need to evacuate. So you can imagine for yourself, thousands of cars. It's a nature, a small place from when we entered. We went out to the parking and we saw all the cars start to drive like crazy to try to go out. And I said to Jenny, listen, we're not going to go nowhere because it's going to stuck so fast, the exit. So let's stay here in the parking. Shlomi and Lily decided around 1 and 20 to around 7:20 to go out. Shlomi was the father of two small children, 2.5 years old and 4 years old. They was living in Rishon LeZion, one of the most bombed city in Israel on this day. And his divorced didn't have any shelter room, so he was hurried to take his children to his place. He had a shelter room, so they went out. We stayed on the parking lot. The first thing that I thought to do is to take out my Bluetooth speaker and to put some music on. And what we thought happened, more and more people just gather around us, start to dance with us to relax because the atmosphere over there was really panicked. And let's say around 7:30, we heard some shooting far from us. But again, unfortunately, here in Israel, we also familiar with terror attacks. So we said, okay, 6, 8, 10 terrorists, but you have 3 military bases around. What we didn't know that around 7:30, all the bases was already conquered and all the soldiers were already slaughtered. This is what we didn't know. So we stayed in the parking lot and we danced and we had some people. We gave some food, some water, relaxed those people until 8 o'clock. Then we heard really close shooting next to us. The terrorists attacked the area of the party. So we decided to go to the core. We drove through the exit, but we saw it's so blocked over there. So we parked on the side, waited for a few minutes. Jenny sent message for Shlomi to see that he's okay. And after, I don't know, 5, 7 minutes, we start to hear crazy shooting on the core from behind, like, and all the people that were there start to shout that there is a terrorist, that they're murdering them, and everybody need to escape, and everybody start to run like crazy. And those terrorists came with RPG and shoulder missiles, grenade. We had flip-flops and boxer. This is what we had. It was like we came to dance. This is what we did. And we closed the doors of the car and we drove back to the party area because I didn't was familiar with this place. I didn't know where to go. And while we are driving, we saw all the people that running and yelling. They're being attacked and they asked for help. So we stopped the car for the first time, and many people just jumped to the car. And you need to understand, it's like a, I don't know, battle zone. It's crazy. It's like dust is in the air and bombing every few seconds and shooting and people yelling and escaping and running and cars and motorcycles, and you don't really understand what's going on. So we continue to drive on this road full with stones and holes. And we hear one guy that's shouting to us that we have to evacuate him to take him to the hospital because he's been shot. So we stopped the car for the second time, and him and another guy entering. And he had he's showing us a hole in the shoulder and he said, you have to take me to the hospital. And we continue driving, and the car is already packed with people. But we're hearing another girl that shouting to us, help, help. They murdered my husband. I have 4 children. Please help me. I need to reach to my children. So we stopped the car for the third time. But the car was so packed with people that when they opened the door for her, she couldn't really go inside. So she started to walk away. So I shouted on her, what are you doing? Just jump on other people. And Jenny turned around and asked for someone over there to make some room for her. So this girl jumped with another girl. We were 15 people inside a private car. I had the Renault Kangoo, and I drove. And in my head, I need to reach to the main road, the 232 road. This is the name of the road. And we were sure that only the party was attacked. We didn't know what happened outside. We didn't know that those who went out the first to those roads was butchered, burned, raped. Choose whatever fits for you. So we drove there. We reached to a junction. We didn't really know where we need to go, so we looked right and we saw like huge black smoke. So we decided not to go to this side. We went to the left, drove few hundred meters, then we reached to a huge block of cars, not really nowhere to go. So we stopped the car to the right. 15 people just jump. You don't really have nowhere to hide because you are in pure nature. It's just fields. and shooting all the time and bombing all the time, and the brain can't understand what's going on. And when we started to run and to escape, so Jenny just ran, and I saw the first body of a woman that I just met at night, and it's made me to freeze because my brain can't really understand it. He sort of said, "Wow, people are really dead here." Till today, I can't really understand. It's really hard. And Jenny started to call me, Noam, Noam, come, come. And when I started to run for her, we heard like a crazy explosion that just threw us to the right, and the ears was ringing. And I looked to the left, and I saw like a smoke that became from black to gray and then to white. And we're running in the fields, and people running and shouting, and we're finding sort of a bush that with more people inside, so we decided to hide there. And we send message to Shlomi to see if it's okay, and he sent us back a message that he's okay. And after a few minutes, I don't know to tell you, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, we hear somebody that's saying, everybody that are here, you have to run, you have to escape because the terrorists coming, you have to run. So we just jumped out to the road, to the main road, and I saw a policeman with a policewoman. He's like with his hat to the back, he's holding a gun because this is what I had, only guns, on one of the car's roofs and shooting through the terrorist. And the woman, the policewoman, he yelling, "What I'm going to do? What I'm going to do? I don't have any mission anymore. What I'm going to do?" And he's yelling back on her, "Just run, run! The terrorists are here." So we turning. We decided to go back to the car and try to drive where we saw the smoke before. And this time we already see, I can't say how much, but so many bodies just around, all around, burning people. We're hearing some guy that yelling to other, "Please come help me to help this woman," and he's yelling to him back, "Just leave her alone. She's already dead." And we're running and we're reaching to the car and we want to go inside, but one guy just jumping and said, "No, don't go to the cars because they're shooting on all over the cars." So we going back to the fields, running to the other side, and we're running group of people, and you're hearing the bullet next to your ears, like just passing next to me. I'm looking on the ground and I see them hitting in the ground. It's crazy. And I'm running in zigzag with my head down, and suddenly I raise my head and I see I reach to a trees, to an orchard of grapefruits. It's October, so you still have fruits, and this kind of trees, when they have fruits, so all the branches are sort of going down, so it became like sort of a doom. So we were a group of people, so we enter inside those trees, and we choose one tree, me and Jenny, and another, and Shalev and Adar, four people that hide behind. And while we enter under this tree, we hear all the terrorists that arrived there because this is what they did. They surrounded us. And I don't know to tell you if it was 3, 4, 5 minutes of crazy shooting. I remember that I'm thinking to myself, when are they stopping to reload the weapons? Like, what's going on? Like, what's going on? And after this crazy shooting, I'm here, you hear like, "Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Wakaf, Wakaf, Ta'al, Ta'al, Lili, Lili, Lili." They're so happy. So, and they saw us running away. So they come after us. And we are lying down like in the Holocaust. You can't really move. You were like 10, 15 meters from them. And you're hearing the branches break under the legs and the leaves. And then you're hearing people that begging for their life, like, "No, no, please, please." And then you're hearing like, and people like, "Ah, ah, ah." And this is what we heard, like 2 hours, crazy 2 hours, that we see terrorists walking on the roads in this orchard, and we're hearing everything that this terrorists doing. We're hearing people begging for their life. We're hearing girls with crazy shoutings. We're smelling burning people, the meat, the flesh. It's really hard for me I don't want to be too much graphic. And after 2 hours, it sort of became like more quiet. And I don't know, half an hour, you're hearing bombing and shooting, and again quiet, and again shooting and bombing. And after 4.5 hours, there was a really crazy explosion next to us, a missile that fell next to us. And few minutes passing, and the terrorists came and stood just in the front of the tree, in the entrance to the tree, and I was sure it was so horror, and I never wish to nobody in life to feel this feeling that you know that this is the last moment of your life, because I was sure he gonna see us. I remember his back, his legs, the coil of the gun, how he's looking, how he's moving the coil, and I was sure. I said thank you for everything, and I was with so much sorrow for my children, but he didn't saw us. He just continued to walk. But after another few minutes, we start to smell smoke that became thicker and thicker, and burning things just start to fall on us, because this explosion just started, this bomb that fell just started to burn the trees. So we had two options: or to stay and burn alive, or to try to escape. This is when we choose the second option, and we went out, went a little bit up in this orchard, and we start to cross between the trees. I don't know, 7 rows, 10 rows, 15 rows, until we get out and we reach to the tank. There was a story in the Nova Festival with the tank that one guy managed to bring there, and it became like sort of a point that all the survivor and the security people hang out there and help each other, because nobody really understood what's going on. It was already 2:30 afternoon, 5 hours after we reached to this tree. We already saw wounded people and the bodies under this tank, and the security people all the time wanted to take us out from there. And after 20 minutes, they arrived with an open Toyota, and they pick up as much people as they can, with a shielded police car that drove next to us. And we drove in a road that I call it a road of death. It's like 2-3 kilometers of cars parking next to each other, burning cars, and people literally spoiled out, dead from the cars. So much bodies in a twisted way. And if you already cross these 2-3 kilometers, after 200 meters, you see another body, and another soldier, and another policeman, and another car that got twisted. And the brain can't understand what's going on. And we reached to a Fakim police station, and we tried to understand what happened to Shlomi, because he didn't answer for us for 9:30 in the morning. And we looked for him for 6 days. And after 6 days, Friday evening, 11:45 night, the family got the knock on the door, and they said to them that Shlomi was found that he murdered with his partner Lily. And till today, the family doesn't know really what happened to him, how he was murdered, where he was found, and many other families with the same story, that they will never know what happened. And for me, it's really hard to come back to life. It will never be the same. The thing that I saw, I smell, I heard, it's really crazy. It's really hard to explain. The first half year, I was full with anger about the world, about everybody. But I understood, that things happening. Everybody have challenges and things in life and complication. Yeah, in my turn, it was the Nova, but who don't have it? The question is what you choose to do with what happened to you. And I feel I don't have the time to lay down and cry what happened to me, because I stayed alive. I can't explain how I stayed alive, but I stayed alive. And now I'm in a mission to really remember and cherish those who didn't have the option, and to tell the world what really happened to us. Because, you know, people, it's not only for Jewish or Israeli, there was Muslims that murdered there, and there are Christian people that murdered there, and Thai people that murdered there. It's not even Jewish. They just was there. You have a Mexican guy and Brazilian guy from Universo Paralelo, the producer, that was murdered there. And I think it's much more big than Israel. And in our country, in Israel, it's really bleeding. And I hope that today we have good news about the release of the hostages, and then we have some time to really help to our country. So thank you for this.
Noam, Thank you for sharing this impossible story. We truly wish you well, and we take the responsibility with you to communicate your story and the stories of others so that the world never forgets this terror. Well, now we'll recite the prayer for the state of Israel, the eternal home of the Jewish people. Our God in heaven, rock and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, the first manifestation of the approach of our redemption. Shield it with your loving kindness, envelop in it your peace, and bestow your light and truth upon its leaders, its ministers, and advisors, and grace them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land, grant them deliverance, and adorn them in a mantle of victory. Ordain peace in the land, and grant its inhabitants eternal happiness. Lead them swiftly and upright to your city Zion, and to Jerusalem, the abode of your name, as it is written in the Torah of your servant Moses. Even if your outcasts are at the ends of the world, from there the Lord your God will gather you. From there he will fetch you. And the Lord your God will bring you to the land that your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it, and he will make you more prosperous and more numerous than your fathers. Draw our hearts together to revere and venerate your name and to observe all the precepts of your Torah. And send us quickly the Messiah, son of David, agent of your vindication, to redeem those who await your deliverance. Manifest yourself in the splendor of your boldness before the eyes of all the inhabitants of your world, and may everyone endowed with a soul affirm that the Lord God of Israel is king and his dominion is absolute. Amen, forevermore. We thank our guests, Osher Pardo and Noam Lev-Ram, for helping us ensure the world never forgets what Hamas did on October 7th, 2023. And we thank you all for joining us to remember that day.